Is it possible to build a PC in today's market for less than $1,000? Well, stay tuned because I did just that. So I'm going to go over the parts list here of the build that I put together for a customer who wanted a computer that was in the range of $800 to $1,000, and I was able to get a full PC into that price range. So all prices are including tax and shipping to my house. So the build does actually come in under $1,000, even with taxes and shipping. Let's start with the motherboard. I went with the Gigabyte Aorus Elite AX motherboard with the B650M chipset. This seems to be a great little motherboard with a lot of good features, including an AM5 socket, DDR5 RAM support, as well as two M.2 slots, all in a micro ATX form factor. So I'm really excited to do a build with this and see how it performs. And this cost $189.74. To go in the AM5 socket, I went with an AMD Ryzen 5 7600 processor. And this is going to be a great processor for a budget build, as it's not going to be super expensive, but you are going to get quite a bit of performance out of it. It turbos up to 5.1 gigahertz and its base clock is 3.8 gigahertz. And it has 6 cores, so you are getting a good bit for your money. The price for the processor, all said and done, was $200.34. So for RAM, I went with the Asgard Valkyrie DDR5 32GB RAM kit at 6400 megahertz, and this costs $134.99. So to cool the Ryzen 5 7600, I went with the Peerless Assassin 120 SE. And this is going to be a dual 120 millimeter fan air-cooled cooler, and it should provide plenty of cooling power when we hit those 5.1 gigahertz turbo speeds. The Peerless Assassin also came out at $32.43. As far as storage for the build, I went with a Western Digital SN770 NVMe M.2 drive. And this is a great little drive, and 1 terabyte is going to be plenty. That's what Xbox Series X has in it. It has 1 terabyte of storage, so you can actually store a decent amount of games on a 1 terabyte drive. However, the motherboard does have the option to expand, so you could expand at a later date. Now, the SN770 costs $79.99. As far as GPU, I went with really the only option when it comes to budget, and that's going with an Intel chipset graphics card. So this is the ASRock Challenger ITX A380, and this has 6 gigabytes of GDDR6 video RAM. So I'm excited to get this in the build and see how it performs. I think it's going to perform around the range of a 1060 from NVIDIA. And I think we're going to be able to get away with 1080p around 30 FPS with a decent amount of modern games. So this is going to be a fun thing to check out and see exactly what kind of performance we can get out of this. And this GPU I was able to pick up for $116.99. So this is a really budget GPU. It's probably one of the only ones on the market. I think there was one step below this, but I didn't want to go quite that low. So we were able to squeeze this in and still get in under $1,000. So to power the whole build, I went with a Seasonic Focus GX 750 watt power supply. This is an ATX 3.0 PCI 5.0 ready power supply. I have a lot of great success with Seasonic, so I'm excited to use a really good power supply in this build. I was able to grab this power supply for $95.39. And I would definitely recommend not skimping on a power supply in your build, so definitely put a little bit of extra money into your power supply selection. So as far as cases go, we went with the Lee A3 DAN case, and this thing is a micro ATX case. I'm super excited to build in it. I think it has a great look, and there's a lot of great features in this case. We're definitely going to be taking a look at it before we build, but overall, it's a Lee case. You're getting great quality, and the design is going to be pretty good regardless. And this thing ran me $74.19. And then since the case didn't come with any fans, I went ahead and added an Arctic F12 120 millimeter fan as an exhaust fan. And this fan ran me $10.58. And that actually wraps up the entire build parts-wise. I usually don't like to include operating systems in a total build budget because people acquire operating systems in different ways. and some are different prices than others, and you can even go ahead and get a Linux operating system for free. So with all of those parts, the total came out to $924.06. So we made it under $1,000 with taxes and any shipping, and we were able to get all of the parts, including a GPU, into this build. Now, there were a few places that you could go a little bit cheaper in terms of the motherboard. There is an ASRock Micro ATX motherboard that was around $130, so you could even have saved around 40 or so from the motherboard that I chose. I think you could find slightly cheaper RAM than I also selected. You don't have to go to 6400. You could get something around 6,000, and that might save you a few bucks here or there. So the answer is you can definitely build a PC in this market for less than $1,000. You're not going to be playing games at 4K 60 FPS, but I think this build is going to do great at 1080p, shooting for around 30 FPS. I think that's a reasonable expectation and not too lofty of goals. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in. I'm excited to build this on the channel. This is going to be the channel's next build. We're going to be taking a look at budget PC building in this market, and we're going to see how it performs. So stay tuned to the channel to check out more videos around this build. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.